Hello, hello, Mr. Blue with LEVER.bet, and I'm here again for the win. So a little quick refresh. Again, we're LEVER.bet, the first leveraged sports betting platform in the world, and we aim to combine the power of DeFi with the thrill of sports betting. And we do this through not just creating a sports book, but a leveraged sportsbook exchange that brings the power of fully liquid positions, leveraged bets managed by a proprietary liquidation engine, a pooled liquidity vault to act as the house portion of the bets, as well as a permissionless marketplace where we don't turn away sharps, we don't turn away good bettors, we let everybody come and participate as they see fit. And so our real aim is to bring true innovation to GambleFi. We look at that and we say, how can we bring a better product to market than what currently exists? And so we think that hinges on a few key points. First, again, transparency by running everything on chain. Most importantly, user-friendly odds. We think that is the key to everything, using the inherent advantages of our system to provide the best opportunity to users that we possibly can, as well as, of course, passive earning. And we get all of this done by our real innovation, which is leverage. And so let's talk about what we didn't get to yesterday. How do we bring this product to market? Well, we have to start somewhere with some foundational building blocks. And the foundational building blocks really come from establishing our community early on during our beta test in tandem with Monad Testnet, creating some hype around the project through the social media channels, coming on stage here, as well as any other activations we can get our hands on. And really, really important is to leverage our partnerships with existing top-level firms such as Layer 0, where we'll be using them to deploy into our EVM expansion phase, and using the trust inherent in those products to boost our status, as well as obviously growing our metrics on users, engagement on socials, so on and so forth. And so when we expand across Web3 first, we look at different phases. Our first phase is already complete. We did an alpha test on Avalanche Fuji C, went successful, but we learned a lot of stuff. One of those is we're not going to be running this product long term on that chain. So we made a switch and have now started beta testing on Monad, on the DevNet. We'll roll into testnet here when they launch it. Can't tell you guys when, but keep your eyes out. And then we'll move on to mainnet, hopefully end of the year, more likely next year. And we'll rock and expand onto mainnet. We'll get our initial flywheels going with token incentives, and then we'll look to expand across the rest of the EVM ecosystem on the back of our Layer 0 relays. And then what about the rest of the market? This is really where it comes into play. Once we've established the flywheels in the early stages of our product launch onto Monad and the rest of the EVM ecosystem, when I say flywheels, I mean things like using token incentives to get users to deploy liquidity into the vault that backs the product, using token incentives to get users to deploy liquidity into the in-game order book exchange that makes the product fully functional. We can then use those existing flywheels to boost into the next phase of growth, and so on and so forth. So our traditional market expansion is using DeFi and Web3 success to power into retail, and welcoming sports bettors that come from a retail aspect into a fully functioning product that has the bugs worked out and has the UI UX perfected. Once we have retail sports bettors in the product and they're functioning on it, we then can make a play into one of the most important segments in the market, which is professional sports bettors. But they're not going to come to our product unless we have chum in the water for them to play against. They always counteract retail money, and until the retail money is there, they're not coming. So we will use the retail wave of users to adopt the second wave of power users and professional sports bettors. After we've got professionals in there, we now have expanded the product to a phase where we can go and attack real casinos for partnerships or acquisition because we are actually affecting their business on a day-to-day basis. And the team. Well, you know me, I'm Blue, I'm the founder. Previously was a DeFi portfolio manager, did security work at an audit firm, and just an all-around blockchain enthusiast. We also have Q, which is our quant and lead sports betting analyst. He has a PhD and has designed one of the most profitable sports betting funds in the world, as well as Eternal, who's our lead developer, been around in the space since 2011, very, very competent guy, as well as a slew of other very important people to us. Mel, our branding and design, TV, our marketing lead, Jay, our Solidity wizard,
and some really great advisors.
All right, now just moving over to Q&A with questions from the judges.
Can you walk through the decision to deploy on multiple chains and whether that'll like fragment liquidity?
Yeah. So we'll house Monad as our beacon chain, where our on-chain order book will live, as well as the vault will live. We'll then use layer 0 relays to access any chain that has them on the EVM landscape to allow users to bet into the market and claim out of the market on the relay. But if they want to participate in the in-game exchange, they have to move on to Monad so that they can access the order book.
Got it, that makes sense. And one other question I had was, related to like a VIP kind of program for like high volume, high turnover gamblers. Like giving them perks, like kind of like the real casinos, they do all sorts of things. Like, do you have like a team for that yet?
Yeah, so our model to acquire the professional sports bettors is simply a casino model. Right, we'll hire a biz dev team out that will essentially farm sale them by going to them, showing the product, giving them the unique advantages where they live, and letting them see that if they were playing on this, there'd be extra profitability for them, and teach them how they can hedge out of it into IRL casinos. We'll build that on the back of our existing casino and sports betting relationships from our professional sports betting side.
You mentioned that you first deployed on Avalanche and had lots of learnings from that experiment. What was those experiences, not with perhaps Avalanche directly, but as you developed there, what was some of the early learning lessons?
I think the main initial learning experience we got from that deployment was user feedback, and user feedback directing the simplification of the product away from an extremely in-depth DeFi perp dex and into something that's more easily understood, even in expert mode, by a sports betting public, right? We needed to bridge that gap a little bit better than we were currently doing, and we've since gone back to the drawing board, revised it, and made those fixes. As well as we figured out that we really need to focus on the in-game exchange and making sure that every single user that wants to make an order at any given second can get that order through, and they're not slowed down by any of the tech stack that we have.
And then lastly, I think we touched upon this yesterday and slightly earlier as well, but for this to get more mainstream adoption long-term, the regulatory piece, maybe like a kind of like high-level thoughts on how to get that expanded adoption over time and clarity.
Yeah, so we look at it as we have to get PMF first with as low a friction as possible. So we'll do IP restrictions and basic attestation that you're not from a restricted jurisdiction during the first 6 months of the program while we're spooling the flywheels. After we start making a move to actually advertise into retail channels, we'll face a lot more pressure from regulators, as our advertising is definitely not going to keep consistent with the laws and regulations of not advertising into certain jurisdictions. At that point, we'll need to implement heavy KYC, have a gaming license in place. And so what we'll look to do is, once we have our retail onboarding solution, it'll likely be very scaled down into a mobile focus and email sign up, account abstraction, payment rails. We'll push users that come into that channel directly into our KYC. We'll run through with GeoComply, which is a leading upmarket traditional sports betting compliance technology. And then we'll look to get community to run the more advanced sections of the front end and attach them into the contracts so that we don't have to worry about users coming in un-KYC'd onto our front end that we control.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.